My last review was super hot, and now it's time for SuperHOT VR edition. Though, I will be piggybacking off of my SuperHOT review, so go check that one out, and I don't know, I might throw you up an annotation or something. As the most recent game in the SuperHOT franchise, the VR version has been through a lot of changes since I first bought it. If I was reviewing it when I first bought it, I'd have to slam it harder than most game reviewers slammed No Man's Sky. When I bought it, SuperHOT VR had enough bugs to make an exterminator crap their pants in fear. But now, I actually got a response from a real developer telling me they fixed shit. And to their credit, they actually did, believe it or not. And so, with a shit ton of respect to the developers, let's get started with the graphics. The graphics are exactly the same as they were in SuperHOT, meaning it'll run on basically any virtual reality ready computer, including the rig I scrapped together on a budget smaller than most people spend on their mobile phones. Though I do need to apologise for something, and that's that the recording looks like it came out of a monitor from 2004 in a 3x4 resolution, because the game for some stupid reason doesn't play back in 1080p, even though other virtual reality games running on the Oculus Rift do. Shifting over to story, there really is none. I don't remember this game ever having a story, just a series of minorly connected levels that are much more a setup for the endless and challenge modes than they are story levels. This is fine though. Being a VR game, story really isn't necessary, and the campaign's length being slightly longer than that of SuperHOT 1, at about 3 hours for me, while most say closer to 2, I would say is about right, because honestly, it's a VR game, and most campaigns aren't longer than that in VR, not to mention the fact that you can't really spend that much time in VR before your eyes start to hurt. So before your eyes catch fire from watching this video through your virtual reality headset, let's talk about the gameplay of SuperHOT VR, which is where it really shines, because the gameplay is awesome. As with every other SuperHOT game, it has SuperHOT's big gimmick. Time only moves when you move. And as with SuperHOT, the original one that is, this game has a grand total of 3 firearms. But this time, basically anything you can pick up is an impromptu melee weapon. And actual melee weapons are literally no more effective besides the fact they don't shatter into a million pieces when you smash them against the red guy's face with the force of a Hulk smash. As for firearms, you get the exact same pistol as in the original SuperHOT, but with a different shotgun and no rifle. In the place of the rifle is a Mach 10-esque submachine gun that fires just like the rifle from SuperHOT 1, except with a minimum burst of 3 rounds instead of 4. As for the shotgun, to save on the detail that I put into the first review, it's the exact same shotgun you got in SuperHOT 1, except it's sawn off to be wielded single-handedly, and therefore can be dual-wielded, which is extremely fun. Replacing the katana is 2 weapons, a cleaver and a knife. They're both shorter than the katana, but can both slice bullets in half like a hot knife through thin air, because like any VR game, there is no proper impact feedback, which is a hardware issue, not a software issue, so it's neither here nor there. As for throwing weapons, you've got a wide variety, from bottles to throwing stars and quite a few things in between, which generally speaking go in the direction you're trying to throw them, although they aren't really perfectly accurate like they are in some other games. This does, however, sometimes seem like throwing weapons are almost homing weapons, because you'll throw 3 in a row not even trying to be accurate and then manage to hit all 3. The enemies of SuperHOT VR are the exact same ones from SuperHOT, identical red guys with various weapons, carrying any of the firearms or knives. However, they never carry throwing weapons such as bottles, or even pick them up off the floor when they are disarmed. They always prefer to charge at you with their fists raised ready to punch you in the face like a pissed off boxer. Differing from regular SuperHOT is the fact that you cannot move independently around the entire level. The game gives you a set challenge in a set position before giving you a thing to grab to move on to the next challenge in the next location. Rinse and repeat throughout the level and then you move on to the next level. However, if you die, you end up back at the start of the level. This is a decent way around the limitations of virtual reality, but I would prefer something such as the Robo-Recall teleporting system. The thing that sucks the most about this game is that if you cannot kill enemies quick enough, you are going to get overwhelmed with bullets, which does happen a lot in the endless mode. However, you can use the cleaver as a shield and any weapon can block bullets as if it's made out of adamantium, even though when you throw it, it shatters like it's made out of the glass equivalent of single-ply toilet paper. One thing that I have found you can do in this game is stealing weapons right out of your enemy's hands, disarming and more importantly stunning them, allowing you to go for a quick kill with either a headshot or a good old-fashioned stabbing. This also helps to alleviate the chaos of firefights, with the enemy whose weapon you just stole making a pretty good shield for a few seconds, while you kill everything in every other direction. Or at least try to, while still getting gunned down in a flurry of bullets thanks to every enemy within half a mile. Oh, and did I mention that you've got hitboxes that make a broadside of a barn feel like a bullseye in comparison? To the SuperHOT in VR's credit, the challenges are pretty good, as they were in the original game, although I can't talk about any of them at length except the Endless mode because I haven't really played that much of them. The Endless mode, however, is pretty great, although more hectic than most VR games, because you get literally swarmed with bad guys, including the ones who have guns, though they do tend to shoot each other, especially the ones with shotguns for some reason. In the Endless mode, you do get to move around, sort of, because every few kills a thing will spawn that allows you to grab it and teleport to a new location, killing every single red guy on the map just for good measure. Sadly, it does cost you your weapons and quite possibly your cover. Most of the maps have plenty of cover and teleporting isn't too much of a risk. However, on the others you sometimes teleport to areas with almost no cover, and get yourself Swiss cheese with enough bullets to put TF2 Heavy's 10,000 round per minute minigun to shame. On the other hand, when you're doing well, the Endless mode makes you feel like an absolute badass, and nigh invincible, until you fuck up and get shot once, which is enough to kill you because SuperHOT game. Actually, now that I come to think of it, that's something this game does pretty well in quite a few instances, making you feel like an absolute badass. SuperHOT VR does a pretty great job of making you feel like a time-slowing badass with guns that kill any and everything in a single shot. Killing any enemy in the game with a single shot feels awesome and makes the weapons feel extremely powerful. Oh, and the shotguns still feel like area of effect weapons at long range, which is fine by me. Glitches wise, I can thankfully say that this game is much less glitchy than the original SuperHOT, with the worst glitches being the occasional time you get hit by bullets that whiz past your head, or melee weapons phasing through enemies if you're swinging them at the speed a snail would, except if that snail was blind, deaf and didn't exist. In conclusion, SuperHOT VR is a pretty great game that is worth playing. Somewhat Hot VR, however, is not a perfect game, with flaws such as its hitbox and the lack of any kind of movement, but it's a fun game, and that's what matters in VR. A VR game being fun is much more important in my opinion than a perfect VR game, and it just so happens that the well-made ones are usually much more fun than the shoddily made ones. Slightly Warm VR only falls flatter than a pancake in a few places, but absolutely nails the charm of VR games, and has the advantage of the shattering of enemies when shot or slashed, which looks so much better in VR than it does in a normal video game. The slow motion also allows for some beautiful, nice cinematic moments, and yes, I would definitely recommend slightly cold VR if you own a VR headset and have enough money to buy it, especially on sale. Thank you for watching. I have been your host, Freezing Cold 343, signing off. Peace out, gentlemen.